Welcome. Before we start this week's episode, we invite you to join us in observing a moment's silence to honor the dead and buried. Once a great team, now just a meme, Arsenal Football Club.
This week on Football Mezzanine, we take a look at Arsenal's hat-trick of defeats, Chelsea's display at the Etihad, and discuss the possibility of an all-star game in the Premier League. Hey guys, we're back again this week with another episode of Football Mezzanine, and we have today with us Ansh, Tristan, and myself, Shrikar, to discuss this week's footy. How was your week, guys?
Amazing.
Did you guys watch the games?
Yep.
Amazing? You thought so? Same with me. Liverpool won. Happy days. Good
I
weekend.
hate you both so much.
How did the Chelsea fan do this week?
Oh, well. I don't want to talk about it right now.
What game? I don't recall a game.
You guys just played
There was no
City
game
this
this
week. You
weekend.
didn't have two games this week, so it's not an absolute disaster. Speaking of absolute disasters,
No.
AFC, AFTV.
AFTV and chill. The memes are real.
How rich do you think Robbie is by now?
Robbie? No, there was this interview, Robbie. Did you guys see Arsenal Fan TV's 5-year anniversary videos? They were actually pretty jokes.
No, I don't actually
Like,
watch it that much.
They like rented out this like basement type thing. They had like a whole award ceremony. They had Ian Wright come in. They had like Arsenal legends show up to their like.
It's crazy
it was,
how
like,
big they've gotten now.
an award show.
Like,
It was an award show like with like open bars and like legends of Arsenal coming in, and like just all the people who like are like prominent in their videos, like Claude, Ty, all those people. They were all there and they got like awards and
that's
stuff.
amazing.
It was actually pretty cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like
It's funny how
dope. Like,
it's funny how the only
Robbie's
reason they've
rich.
gotten rich is because Arsenal have been so shit.
And that was the one thing that Bellerin criticized AFTV on when he was speaking at the Oxford Union.
True.
And people like got enraged at him, like, "Oh my God, we're real fans. We need our like. How can you say our opinions aren't like valid?" Bellerin never said that. Bellerin was just like, "That's your opinion, and if you're gaining popularity by something that's negative of your team, is that really? Are you being a real supporter?" Is what he asked, which I guess is.
I mean, I'd do it if it makes me rich.
Fair point,
to be
but he's
honest.
kind of salty.
Yeah, I get both point of views, but like,
I think.
I mean, someone's.
it's.
I was
They
gonna say
didn't
someone's got to be. Oh, I was gonna say someone's got to be doing something good out of at least between the two. Like someone's got to be having some sort of success.
True. I don't think they obviously started off with the idea of getting rich. They just wanted to like voice their opinion and get out there, right?
Yeah, of
but
course
I mean,
not.
if it makes you rich, then
Yeah, I don't think they set out to like make money out of Arsenal's
yeah, obviously.
demise.
But I mean, if it makes you rich, then even better, right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever positive you can get.
Yeah. So speaking of Arsenal and speaking
Man,
of
oh man.
disasters,
Yeah, let's talk about the first of the two slaughters, the Arsenal-Man City game. What do you guys think?
so this is the second Arsenal Man City game, not the cup final.
Yeah, not the cup,
The
exactly.
one in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Arsenal at home. The weather was absolute crap. People still showed up. Credit to them.
The City fans showed up. The
Um,
Arsenal fans were.
City fans showed up. Arsenal
They didn't
fans.
show up.
Yeah.
I don't know why they showed up.
Arsenal boycotted.
No, yeah, like the empty seats definitely weren't because of the weather only, because you could clearly see the away end was
No,
full.
no.
So like if people wanted to get there, they would have
Yeah.
gotten there. It was definitely a show of defiance.
I think the only end that was full in the Emirates was the clock tower end, which is like their comp.
Yeah.
But not really, because they don't sing.
The benefit of having a lot of your fans not show up is there's less booze.
There were still quite a few boos, man. Man, like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
Dude, they needed a lot of boosts to survive that football. I'm just saying.
I was watching this game, and it was honestly the strangest game I've ever seen in my life. I had such a weird feeling watching it. Like, it made you depressed watching it. Even as a City fan, like, even though we were battering Arsenal, I felt depressed watching that team and watching their fans turn on them like that. It was just so weird. Like, I've never seen a stadium that empty in my life.
Dude, it's just so toxic. Like, I'm watching Arsenal games, and it's just like, oh man, the players aren't giving it. Like, you can clearly see there's something wrong.
There's something wrong, and it's being even more amplified by stuff like social media and Arsenal Fan TV. And, like, you know, like, obviously teams went through toxic times in the past as well, but something like this is very, very rare. And I think it's only possible with the way the game is set up these days, where you have social media and you have people voicing their opinions all over the internet. And the players obviously read into that, and it's affecting them clearly, like you can see.
Not to mention it gets amplified too. If you have one person showing their discontent with the team and promoting it, then it really it starts. The internet just amplifies a lot of the opinion, so it makes it worse than it actually is too.
Yeah, it literally does, and it's something that people kind of overlook these days. But if you actually, step back and take a look, like the difference between teams doing poorly back then and teams doing poorly now is, if you lose 2 games now, you're in a crisis, whereas that would have been considered kind of ridiculous a few years back. But now, social media and channels like Arsenal Fan TV, like, I'm not criticizing them, but like, it's just part of the game now.
That's actually ridiculous. Like, a team has a run of bad games, and their season is over. Their manager needs to be sacked. And we've kind of, we touched on this on the podcast before, where I said that teams who sack their manager in the early part of the season have, this resurgence. But now we're seeing the dip again, because David Moyes isn't doing well again at West Ham. Their results are poor. They lost 4-1 this week. Then Sam Allardyce is having a horrendous season at Everton.
Yeah.
Absolute crap.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, all this short-term optimism and short-term pessimism is literally the direct result of how much more, voice every single fan gets these days because of social media, because of Twitter, and because of YouTube. And, one thing people don't realize...
Just like us.
Yeah, just literally like us. Which is, I want to stress the fact that, one thing people don't realize is players actually, this affects them a lot. If you were a professional player, wouldn't you want to know, what everyone on the internet thinks of you? Of course you would. So, if you read and hear all these, terrible things being said about you every week, I'm sure it gets to them. And, I'm kind of concerned, about their mental state these days, especially those Arsenal players. They looked like...
At the same time, though... As I say, at the same time, they learn to kind of separate it, keep it away from themselves. You get to a point where you kind of get in zone. You learn kind of to shut things out. I think what more starts to hit at them and starts to affect them is when you have a string of just game after game where everything's just going poorly.
And
then that really gets into
now.
you. It's the fans. They can say what they want. I'm pretty sure most players kind of get used to it, or they understand. Okay, they're going to be pissed when we have a bad game, or they're going to be exuberant when we have a great game. But it's when you get string.
Have played at least 100 games for their club. It's not like they're newbies. They know.
It's not even fans though these days. It's even pundits on TV. They may seem like they're the know-alls of the game, but you have to remember they're being paid, so they have to pretty much put on a show and give something to the people watching the show.
No, but I think if I was a player myself, I wouldn't be affected by pundits as much as I was affected by fans themselves. Because I don't know if you guys remember, Bellerin was it was Palace away last season. I think Arsenal lost 3-2, and the entire Arsenal away fan end was just you're not fit to wear the shirt. Yeah. And that would crush me as a player. More than what Gary Neville says, I wouldn't give a crap about what Gary Neville says in his commentary. But if the fans themselves are screaming in unison at me that I'm not fit to wear the shirt, that could seriously have a big impact.
Yeah, at the stadium that'd have a big impact.
Yeah, definitely. It's also amplified these days by the social media. So like they would regularly have to get over that barrier anyway, but I feel like nowadays they have to get over that barrier and then some because like it follows them everywhere they
and no,
go.
I think, yeah. No, I think the football academies nowadays are also like incorporating that into their regimens,
psychology.
where they're I've seen it introduced in like various clubs in their academy levels, where they're training players to drown out social media noise or how to handle social media like more effectively, which is always a good
Pep
thing.
Guardiola's.
I think that's a great idea.
Pep Guardiola's also done that with Sterling this season, and he actually came out and said he's done that, so it's been really good for his game, and you can clearly see it has.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing it with a lot of his players, like Sane, a lot of the young ones that still relatively getting used to everything.
Right. No, I know like the 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds at the academies who are still in high school, they're for sure getting trained in like psychology in the sense of how to handle hate and criticism.
Yeah, I would hope they do. So in terms of the actual game, the game was over within 30 minutes.
Basically. The game was over before it started.
I'm not sure about that because like everyone kind of expected a big Arsenal response. Like they expected them to like show some fight and be like Streaker, you mentioned it last episode, Liverpool right after they lost the final, they came back and they beat City 3-0 because a combination of Liverpool wanting to fight back and City being a little complacent. But here City were like even more, it seemed like, energized and not complacent at all.
And credit to City and Pep, they're still fighting for every single point, which is ridiculously insane. That's seriously like they're professionals right there to actually go out and fight even though you're champions already, like basically champions. I don't see
Well, without delving into it, I mean the perfect example was the Chelsea Man City game. They just came off of a string of a couple of games pretty back to back, so the fact that they did so well and that they were pretty fresh just shows to their training regiment and his rotation schedule.
Yeah, and it comes down to Pep Guardiola and his like mentality at the club. Which is like not mentioned too much. It's more mentioned like the quality of the players, but the mentality is so important. And he's
Ansh, as a City fan, where do you rank Guardiola in terms of managers who have won you the league? So Mancini and
obviously top.
What was that?
Obviously
Pellegrino. Top?
I mean, I don't think
to be fair though, this is early though too.
Yeah, also
it's pretty early.
We haven't won the league yet. We still might get relegated for all you know. Actually, that's not true. I'm pretty sure that's mathematically impossible, but
oh, come on.
No, but yeah.
But to be fair, it's still early and it's been what 2 seasons now. So I mean, you still got to see how it goes, but he's had his chance where he's been able to build them up.
I guess his legacy comes down to the Champions League.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
yeah, ultimately, that's where City's always dropped it.
Yeah.
Right.
So hopefully this can be their breaking season.
If there's any seasons, it's got to be this one. But going back to the Arsenal City game, if you look at even the stats, like statistically looking at the stats, the game should have been even, but it was far from it. Like they both had essentially 10-9 shots. Shots on target were the same at 5. Possession was 45-55, which isn't like a huge discrepancy as it could have been. Like fouls were the same at 11. Like yellow cards, like corners. If anything, Arsenal had 6. So like,
I think what happened
based off that, it should have been.
I think what happened is
shouldn't have been the domination that we saw.
The first 30 minutes, City just scored them goals, and then they just kind of relaxed and conserved their energy for the rest of the game because they knew they didn't have to press as much and probe as much. So they just kind of.
They were still all over them.
Are you talking about City or Arsenal?
City. So they just scored the goals and then they just kind of relaxed. Okay. If you actually watch the game, yeah.
Right, and yeah, like why not, right? If no one's like putting pressure on you, why like put pressure on them?
And in terms of the actual goals as well, they were all probably like the best half of football I've seen as a City fan in terms of us playing and scoring like amazing goals. The first goal, the Bernardo Silva goal. Did you guys see that goal?
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, and started off by Sane, who's been amazing this year. These past couple of weeks.
Sane has been so good.
He's actually unreal.
And he's come back from an injury too, and he's still hit the same form as he was before injury. So that's insane.
In Sane.
Because if you look at someone like Lallana, he's taken his like time to integrate back into the squad. But Sane is just like gone out
Yeah.
and came back in. Same with like Jesus. He's been injured a couple of times and he's come back in with the same intensity, which only goes to show like the strength of the city's medical
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
just to like nourish them back to the same form, which is ridiculous. Like I haven't seen any other like team who have like a turnover of player return so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily if there's that much of a discrepancy between the medical teams. Just coming from a biomed background,
Really?
there's only
No,
so
I
much
think
you
there's
can
a huge
realistically do.
difference.
There's only so much you realistically can do, and all the clubs at that level are gonna have access to all the same equipment. So, I maybe it was just less severe than what they made it or whatnot, but I don't think there's a huge
No,
discrepancy.
I think for sure like sports science and nutrition makes a big difference because just the way like modern science has taken over football in the sense that nutrition is key. I remember like the reason like even Liverpool is doing so well in terms of fitness and injuries this season is because we got in Bayern's nutrition coach last season. Like he was our major transfer coup of the summer, essentially, because he was he was Bayern's nutritionist, and Klopp wanted him so badly to come in and revitalize the fitness situation because last season we had so many injuries of hamstrings and whatnot. So and this season we have had like barely any. So I do think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think.
But you might not see it on
Tristan,
the surface.
I think he means more in terms of like the training regime rather than like medicine or something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, I don't mean like medicine as in like healing practices like that.
I thought you were getting in
that's
some
related.
talking about-
some magic healing going on or something. Just like, oh, we're just gonna dazzle a bit of pussy dust here, and your kneecap's gonna be completely
yeah, you know,
healed.
like let's use Advil instead of no name brand. That'll really help us.
Those magical German doctors just, whoa, I see your kneecap here, and poof, it's better. But
Yeah.
yeah, but going back to the Arsenal game again in Man City, that third goal by Sane, not necessarily the goal itself, but the passing play leading up to it,
Yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Oh, the build-up plays.
That wasn't that just
so
like
nice.
the like just pass back. It looked as if the Arsenal players were just standing still, like they couldn't
Oh, that was
even
a
do
bust
anything.
That was
Template goal
I think you're talking about the
from
second goal that David Silva scored.
Was it that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that
I
was
mean, they were all
Sane's, but
beautiful.
yeah, I
The Sane
guess.
one was a counterattack, but they were all just incredible goals. Silva's touch for that goal was I've on the run.
He's been playing
On the
amazing.
run to take it with your weaker foot into your stride perfectly, and then just lift it over check like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like these city players make it look so easy. It's just a joy to watch.
Bernardo Silva's been having a great week.
Yeah.
He's been impeccable as far as that game, and then even the most recent one too.
Yeah, and it just sums up City's season. A player gets injured, Sterling gets injured, and another one just comes in and takes over like the same form.
I didn't expect the results either from him to be nearly as good as what he's pulling out.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a good quality player.
Now,
Good to have in depth.
question though, do you guys think it was fully like Man City, their pure dominance as to why it was such a big goal discrepancy at 3-0, or was it more just due to Arsenal's incompetence in that game, or a little bit of both, or do you have any emphasis on either? What do you guys think?
No, Arsenal are a solid team on paper. Look at their team. Ozil, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan. They're not an average side by any
I think you meant
means.
performance in this game, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
specifically,
performance in this game, but like still, like on paper, Arsenal are not like a shit team. They're a
think-
good side.
Oh,
They're a
I
really
agree
good
with you.
side.
I think he was talking about how they performed.
But like in this game, it's just down to Wenger and like his setting up of the side, because that team can seriously compete against City's side to some extent at least. Like not as bad as they
I think
perform.
in this game they
So
played
I
a
think
lot
it's down
better
to the
than they did in the
manager.
cup final. Surprisingly, like this game they weren't actually as poor as the scoreline suggests. I think, but City was just extremely clinical, and they literally in the first 30 minutes they had like 3 chances and they scored all 3 of them. So like it.
Yeah, back to my question on this one. I think I'd have to go with giving the emphasis to Man City just playing that much better. Like, just no matter what they did, the passes, they were just going to the correct player they wanted. They were perfectly timed. They were just passing essentially all around the
No, but
players
that's
as if they
down
weren't
to
even
Arsenal's
moving.
lack of press. The way they set
I
up.
don't think so.
Oh, I think
No,
I
don't
think that
so in
game
this
was
game,
just
to be
Man
fair.
City. I mean,
No,
Arsenal
because
sure
this
definitely
season
didn't
we've
play
seen
well.
2 different templates of how to beat City. one is go all out attack and one is to go all out defense. Wigan and
That's
Liverpool
not a
specifically.
template, dude. A template means that it's an example that many teams can copy, but that was just one game.
No, but it's a style of
A
play they
template is
could
something that many
theoretically
teams can copy. But if only one team can do it, then it's not a template. It's just that one team that can do it. And Liverpool, I think, are the only team that can press as energetically and have that much quality to actually like perfectly execute that game.
Not Spurs?
No, not Spurs. Spurs don't have the legs that Liverpool do. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, they're not high pressers. They're more creative players.
And if you take Kane out of that team, I don't know like how well Spurs would do.
Yeah.
I think they still have good
Yeah, that's
quality,
fair.
but they would severely lack a striker, and they would get. I think they would get into the same situation that Chelsea's in this year, is where we have no striker, and it's just gonna hamstring you on what you can do. You're really they're gonna have to, if they lose him this summer, they're gonna have to find a very good replacement to keep the
Yeah.
same
I don't
quality
see
of
anyone in
football.
that team except who's their backup? Lorente.
Oh,
He
yeah.
scored a hat trick in the VAR debacle.
Yeah, so that was just a pretty much wipeout for Arsenal, even though
slaughtered,
like
Arsenal slaughtered part 1.
Arsenal, part 2, you mean? There's
No,
still a part
okay,
3.
part 2. There's a part 3. Sure.
Yes. So moving on to the part 3, again, people were expecting Arsenal to finally get some sort of form going. You know, show
Arsenal
their
haven't won
fans
away
something.
this year.
No
Arsenal
way.
haven't won a single away game in 2018, and it's March.
Oh, this year. Okay, I thought you meant this season.
Oh,
okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Chill.
That's crazy, man. So they lost they lost
Brighton.
again against Brighton.
Yeah,
Did they
2-1.
lose the first again? What do you mean again?
They lost again, is what
Well,
I'm saying.
he means
And this
yeah.
Oh,
last
okay,
time,
okay.
They've
yeah.
just
So
been shit in the bed
2-1.
lately.
2-0 in like 20 minutes, I think, and then
Yeah.
Aubameyang
Glenn
pulling one
Murray.
back before halftime, but they couldn't salvage the game again. What do you guys think this game was down to?
Not
This
being able to
game
bury
was-
it. I mean, look at the
Yeah.
possession. You have 68% for Arsenal and 32 for Brighton. I mean, shots on target were roughly the same amount of shots, but like if you have that much possession, you should at least hopefully be able to get some more creation chances, and then
Right.
with those be able to finish them. But they just weren't able to. Whereas Brighton was more clinical. They only had 32% possession, but they still got 6 shots on target, and then they got 2 of those they were able to bury.
Do you think it's even like worth it just talking about individual games for Arsenal anymore? Because it just feels like we're repeating the same story over and over.
It's the same thing.
Like, should we, like, okay, yeah, Brighton were more clinical. Arsenal couldn't finish their chances. Arsenal didn't defend well. Like, it's the same thing over and over and over. Like, we could talk about, okay, what can they do better? But are they going to do it better? Like, what can they realistically do to improve?
When a team
right
gets
now?
into a big rut like this, or any big rut, there's a couple things that can change it. One is the end of the season, a new one starts in, and that's when you kind of like give the guys enough of a little break, and then they can revamp it. Another one is, say it's midway through the season, you have like a week break or something for holidays. That can be sometimes enough to shift it, where you guys, all the players come back, they're all ready, revamped, revitalized. At this point, though, I think their only option, like I've mentioned before, is new manager. I think they're all demoralized at this point, especially with each game that keeps going through. It definitely doesn't help their confidence or their play as a team. And sometimes then just a new coach gives them a new kind of, I don't know, position of how they view things.
No,
and
but I think
a new strategy, and it can get them all bought onto it. What were you saying, Shrikar?
Who's Arsenal gonna like? If they bring in someone right now to replace Arsene Wenger, who's it gonna be?
No,
If they
I'm
sack
not
him,
saying
like,
now.
tomorrow?
Honestly, and they should have too much respect for Arsene Wenger, what he's done with the club, to do that to him
Right.
right off the bat. Wait till the end of the season,
yeah.
and then I would either do a mutual, or in what I would do is give them the option, say like, look, like we're gonna change. We just want to give you the option, say like you're gonna retire, or you're gonna at least leave
Right.
the EPL or us, and then it looks at least better on you at that point, because he's done so much for them. You just can't shoot him at
Like,
that
what
point.
the
Like in
other
the back.
option is Wenger stays on as an advisor to the incoming manager if he really doesn't want to leave Arsenal.
Wenger
yeah,
stays on
that's-
as an
or a
Like
consultant
an
or something.
advisor on the board or something
Yeah,
like that. Like, give him some role at the club,
something.
which doesn't like take him away.
I just don't see that happening, man. Like a manager like Wenger, who's been there for 22 years, just not leaving but moving down a rank. Usually,
I
if
mean,
you've
the
been
only
there for that
comparison
long,
we have is Alex Ferguson, who had the same length of tenure.
I mean, not even. There's a bunch of managers who are kind of legends at their club, but if
no,
you
but
decide
no one has
to,
as long as a career as Wenger.
right? But I mean, I
The
I
way-
don't think if you've been at that club for so long, you can like. The only way to end it is to leave. I don't think you could just step down and keep going. That never works. That's kind of like breaking up with a girlfriend and then still staying friends. Like it's not a thing.
There's two ways to do it at this point, though. I think is one is he leaves. Honestly, if he went to the MLS or something like that, I think it would be a good move for him, good move for Arsenal because they get a new manager. The second option though is give him a position higher up. You can still do something where he's a consultant or he's in charge now of all like the whole youth. Like he's very good at developing young players. And I think at least even just like if you gave him something along the lines or something that looked more prestigious but that really played to his attributes and his qualities, his strengths, then I think that would probably be also another good option, especially if he doesn't want to leave.
Right, and the one complaint I hear from Arsenal fans is that he has too much control over the club.
And I don't say... Yeah, exactly. That's why he wouldn't want to give up that much control. It's
but
either
like,
he would leave completely or he would just
really
not leave.
no. I think Arsene Wenger would like rather stay on in some role at Arsenal than to leave completely. Like think about it. It's 23 years of your life that you've dedicated as part of like being this one position at this one club.
Yeah, so did Ferguson, but he realized that okay, like I can't just like half-ass stay.
Isn't Fergie still on the board?
I think he's just a consultant or something. I'm not entirely positive, but I think he's a consultant or something along the lines.
Oh, he might be. I might be completely wrong, but I highly doubt he's still working for the club.
Yeah, but consultant doesn't necessarily
like
need
one
to
of
be
those
working,
honorary
right?
positions.
Yeah.
He's
Where
not working, but like
you can like pay them for their opinions or thoughts, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they always ask, like when they were looking at new managers and things like that, what do you think? Like, who should we get? They always consulted him, so I'm sure they paid him for his time, right?
Right.
See, are Arsenal still in the FA Cup? No, right? They got knocked out by Nottingham.
No, they just have the Europa League.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, like,
Do you guys think
aren't they
have a
qualified for the
chance?
Europa League anyway?
Do you think they have a chance against Milan this week?
No.
not the way they've been playing. No.
Same. Yeah, they just don't have any confidence, and confidence is the biggest thing in football.
Man, since they've lost to Brighton, I don't think they'd have a chance against many tems. But
I mean, upsets happen.
The only person I see changing that at Arsenal is Jack Wilshere.
Upset Arsenal winning. Yeah, Jack Wilshere is going to be leaving, if anything, in the summer. That's what I think.
Klopp's going to put in a bid for him if he leaves, if he decides to leave.
I think it's smart on both ends, actually.
Mate, you guys don't need another like creative midfielder.
Nah, fam, it's okay. We'll take all the Arsenal rejects.
You guys have like 7 central midfielders coming in the summer already.
No, we only have Keita and Chan's leaving.
True.
And then it'll be like not like for like, but it'll be a replacement for Chan, I guess.
Going back quickly to the power struggle, though, of Arsenal, Wenger obviously has a lot of influence, but I think a big portion of it comes down to what their current majority like sharehold owner. I forget what his name is, but he's from like the States or something like that, and he controls the majority. So at that point, he's really not willing to spend much money because for him it's a business, right? Like it's not more of like a passion or something he really wants to do well. It's more make me money and that's it. And I think that's why they haven't really been spending too much on transfers and things like that, along with probably Wenger's influence. But I think that's a large portion. I actually remember hearing about I think there was a petition the fans were trying to do where they would try and get him to sell his shares to like the second majority shareholder because that guy was willing to spend money and actually boost up the team.
Yeah, Usmanov.
Yeah, instead of Kroenke. Because I think the person who owns Arsenal, majority, is also an owner of an NFL team. I don't know which team.
Yeah, I think something like that.
He is, so... Which, again, draws comparison to Liverpool because Fenway owns the Red Sox. And they also own Liverpool. And they've been successful in, splitting the funds between the two teams. So I don't see why the Arsenal board can't do the same.
Well, now they are actually starting to drop their profits because they're not getting into the Champions League. So,
But
they
they're
might
still
actually
in. Like they
start
posted their
considering-
results, I think, a couple of days ago.
They're
Like
still
all
in
the teams
profit,
did.
but the profit has dropped
Right,
significantly.
of
I
course.
think.
They're,
Because
they're
the
on
players
Champions League, that's
or-
gonna happen. But...
It's because the fans
So-
keep not showing up.
No. The Emirates is full, and it's the most expensive ticket
Yeah,
in English
yeah, I know
football.
that.
So maybe the numbers will start talking for Mr. Stan.
Right.
Hopefully.
I don't
Hopefully for
see
Arsenal.
the one thing I don't understand about all this Arsenal fan TV like fiasco. If the fans have such a big opinion, why do they not boycott the games? Just don't show up.
Because then they won't make money.
No, but like if you're really, it's not okay. Then it's drawing comparison to Arsenal fan TV, and are they real fans again? Because if they're real fans,
okay, I'm sure they're real fans, but at this point, that is like their biggest source of income. So I don't think they can just stop
right? But don't
doing
you
Arsenal
think?
Fan TV.
Don't you think that they'll make a bigger statement if they, like, just straight up don't show up to games? Because
Yeah, they will, but they need to show up to the games to do the live interviews and to do
no,
the
like don't go
reactions.
into the stadium. Just like stay out, like do the interview, sure, watch it on TV, and like come
Do it
back.
with the fans
You don't
outside
have to
the
go to
stadium.
game. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Because protest works. Because when Fenway was trying to raise Liverpool's season ticket prices, the fans boycotted in like the 75th minute or something of a game, and
Yeah.
the very next week or in the next 5 days, Fenway went back on their decision to raise ticket prices. So
Sure.
it works.
Well,
it
firstly,
works.
I don't think the Arsenal board are anywhere close to that responsive in terms of Arsenal
Okay, fair.
fan, like revolts. So I don't even know if that'll work.
It'd
Which
be a miracle
it's
if Wenger
so
doesn't
sad.
make it on at the end of the season. If he's not gone by like the summer, it's gonna be a miracle and also probably.
No,
the
watch him
worst
win
mistake.
Europa League and like him stay on. I
Honestly,
swear.
it wouldn't even matter at this point. They need a change up. They absolutely need a change up.
No, of course they do, but like Kroenke is
It
going to see,
happens every
trophy
season
check.
where-
That's it. That's all they need.
Yeah, it happens every season where they do terribly in the league and everything else, but they end up winning like a cup, usually the FA Cup, and then
And
Wenger
they sneak
stays
into
on.
the Champions
See, a
League and they're like,
season
oh, cool, everything's okay.
See, season sure, maybe a couple seasons, but like, it's been going on too far for too long that they need to change up.
for
And-
sure, I agree.
But my biggest worry though is even if it's a
of course they
change
need
up,
change.
if they don't have the money backing it, I'm not even sure they can do much. Like, sure, with the team they have now, I think they could
They definitely
make
do.
a big
They're just not willing
difference.
to spend it.
They're just no. But what I'm saying by money backing is
They have
that the
money.
funds aren't available. They're there but not available, right? So
I don't
think
even think they need that much money. They, like you mentioned it, they have a lot of quality.
They have
They need
so
they can
much
definitely
money.
perform better than they're doing now.
well, yeah, and
So
I agree with you.
Even
And I
a new
spoke.
coach would just make a big
I
difference.
agree with you, and I spoke about it last time. But like, say hypothetically, Wenger leaves, and then honestly, if they get rid of Conte at Chelsea, I think they should pick him up. I think he'd be a great coach for them, and they have
Conte's
the
not going
team.
to stay in London. Conte's
Probably
not.
not, but I'm just saying hypothetically, you get any coach, but they have a good team to build around. They spend.
If anyone's going to come in,
normally-
it's going to be one of the young British managers, or it's going to be Ancelotti.
Maybe. Like they can. I think they need to up their spending a little bit. On average of what they've been doing every season, kind of thing. They need to increase it. Even if they get a new manager, they're still going to need to increase it a little bit if they really want to get the results.
Yeah.
I guess that's enough of Arsenal for this week. Let's move on to some positive stuff.
Positive for who though?
Oh, shut up, Ants.
Are we gonna move on to the Man City Chelsea game?
Unfortunately, we have to.
I guess we have to.
Okay.
Ugh.
Perfect. So,
Couldn't watch the entire game because my streams were acting up today, but you guys know better than me. A Chelsea fan and a City fan. Go ahead. Let's see what you got.
Oh,
wow.
Well, first half, absolute annihilation. Second half, slightly better. Still, it's just
Slightly less
Really?
annihilation.
Really?
slightly.
Slightly better?
Slightly.
I don't know what game you were watching, but Chelsea did not throw a punch.
See,
You know what it reminded me of? You know, in Game of Thrones, in season 5 or something, I forget everyone's
Oh, wait,
name,
wait,
no
wait,
spoilers.
wait,
like,
No
wait, wait.
spoilers.
yeah,
No
spoilers as a heads up.
Spoiler to people who haven't watched Game of Thrones. Why haven't you watched Game of Thrones? So it's your own fault. So they're the really big dude and Oberyn have this fight, and Oberyn's just like running around.
Right.
That's how it felt like. It's like just
Okay, no,
Chelsea.
but Oberyn was actually
Yeah,
intelligent
Oberyn
in
did
that
well,
fight.
though.
He actually threw fight. He
Oberyn
almost
did
actually
well,
beat him.
but like it's that premise of just like the huge guy and just like a little dude, and like freaking City could have like smacked. Like City were not trying today.
It was like
No,
It
City
was-
were trying. They
No.
Yeah.
no,
Had-
dude.
City were trying against Liverpool. That
did
was
not-
trying.
We did not have to break a sweat. We were walking.
No.
the entire
Okay,
game.
so here's my analysis of the game on this point. Like, you look at the score 1-0. It should not have been 1-0. It should have been far more than that for City. But they were trying. They just the Conte, I'm pretty sure going into this, what he did is he had a defensive mind. He was talking. You know how we mentioned the two options: either you go all out attacking or you go all out defensive.
Yeah.
They're going all out defensive. Chelsea didn't
Yeah,
press.
but they didn't. They weren't aggressive. You
Yeah,
need
well,
to be
that
aggressive
well, that's the
even though
thing.
you're
Well,
defensive.
they just parked the bus essentially. But yeah, you're right. They weren't pressing at all, which gave
No, but even
City
when you park the
tons-
bus, you need to park the bus smartly.
I know,
Like
but
you can't just park the bus.
I know, but
They-
what I'm getting at is Chelsea were on the defensive. They didn't like. There's numerous issues. Man City was trying. My whole point is Man City was trying. Chelsea was playing relatively all right defensively. They just had so many mistakes when it came to anything offense. Like, they were either hitting the ball in the air all the time, which essentially would just go to City and then come back the wrong way, or their passes
That's
were
because of City's
incredibly
pressing.
off. Well, yeah, you know what? Credit to City on their pressing, and Chelsea should have done the same thing, and I don't know why they weren't. But on top of that, though, their passing was brutal. Their accuracy was absolutely awful. I remember watching it, and the stat came up at one point. It was like 90-something% accuracy for City, and then look at Chelsea, and it was like 75 or something.
It's
just,
93 to
terrible.
76.
I remember at one point, like, Fabregas had like a huge, just like break, and it just someone tried to feed it to him, and it was so off. It was embarrassing. Their passes were terrible today.
Fabregas is walking.
Here's my actual like take on that, because this was criticized by a lot of pundits. What you just said, you know, like they defended well, but they didn't attack at all, and they were really poor going forward. But one thing that people don't realize is what the City team does so well is the first 15-20 minutes of the game, they just keep the ball and they do not give you a sniff. They'll just pass it between their center backs for like a good 10-15 minutes. I don't know if you saw it in the game, but Chelsea didn't touch the ball for the first 15 minutes. And what that does to a team is it basically numbs them. They basically become numb to anything. So when they finally do get the ball, they're not even in the right mental state to do anything positive with it, because it's like they're numb at that point. They haven't been used to playing and going forward and making any sort of positive impact on the game. And I've noticed that with a lot of games this season. They actually do that really well.
I know
every
they
time
do it,
play
but
a
I don't
big
think it has
game.
the same effect that you're mentioning. Like, maybe to an extent, but I don't think it's that severe where they're like, 15 minutes without the ball, where we lose everything we've learned in training over all the years. Like,
Dude, 15 minutes is a long time without the ball.
to City's
In
credit,
Premier League games, Premier League games are very back and forth. 15 minutes, it's like watching a La Liga game with Barcelona and a small team, where the small team just pretty much never get a touch, and that's not a thing that happens in the Premier League until Man City have started doing it this season.
yes, but I just threw out the number 15. I'm not even sure if it was 15. Like, Chelsea touched it relatively in between there, so it wasn't 15 at that point. To City's credit, they did two things that were, gave them quite a bit of advantage. One, they pressed Chelsea pretty badly. So, again, to credit from them, causing Chelsea to screw up and make stupid mistake passes on top of what they've already were doing just by their own sheer stupidity. And then number two was just their passing play. The off-the-ball passing, like the off-the-ball movement is what I'm getting at. So whenever one guy had the ball, all the players around him would then move to the open space, so he always had a passing option. So even if theoretically Chelsea was pressing them, which they weren't at all, so they had tons and tons of time, they always had an option available. And that's why you look at it, and you had a 72% possession for Man City versus the 28 on Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, City always have possession, though. You can't really blame Chelsea for City having possession, but what you can blame them for is showing a little bit more aggression and pressing
No, Chelsea, what I'm blaming them for was, one, their press. I mean, if you're going to play a defensive counter like style, that's fine. But at least once they get into your half, you have to start pressing them pretty damn hard, and maybe even a little bit just before that. But they weren't even doing that. They were just kind of on their heels, hanging back, and they played well defensively, and it showed in the 1-0 result. But it really doesn't give you much. And then when they did go on the attack, though, their off the ball movement, the players weren't opening up quick enough, because Man City was pressing so quickly, and you really have to have someone really open up quick when someone's on you that fast. And then on top of that, their passes were just, I don't know what was up with them today. It was just a sheer whole team meltdown.
That, I don't know, man. I keep saying that's because of the way City play, and they pretty much numb you. That's what I've noticed in every big game I've seen City play this season.
I think it would go, if I was going to attribute it to anything, it would be more Man City's press than anything. Like, they had a very attacking press very quickly. As soon as Chelsea got the ball, any player, there was always a player on them immediately. And I think, if anything, that's maybe why. But then even on some of the breaks...
that's definitely part of it.
But even if you look at some of the breaks, though, with Chelsea, they're just... I don't know what some of them were doing. Like, at one point, Victor Moses got it, and it was actually one of the few good passes that got to the player. And then he took an extra touch and then just ringed it far, like, wide. And, like, not even close to the net. Just, I would, if anything, take it a little earlier. You had it within the box range. At that point, you can just take the shot and actually put it on target. At least it'll give you something instead of your 3 shots and none of them on target.
Yeah, in the end, it turned out to be pretty much a walk in the park, because Chelsea didn't actually throw a punch until the last minute when Alonso almost scored that.
Oh, I was praying on that one. I was hoping that one was closer than I expected, at least from outside there. But yeah, that looked like their closest chance too, and that was right at the end. Actually, did you see how many passes at one point? I think it was about 2/3 through the game, or about 3/4, and it was something like 700-ish passes for Man City to Chelsea's 200. Like 200 and something.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
That's insane.
This was the game that broke the Premier League record for most passes completed by a single team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually get at.
That.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, City pretty much just getting that game over with in the second half, didn't really go for the kill. They just kind of passed it to death, and now they're a game closer to winning the Premier League, which they can wrap up at the Etihad when they play Man United. So
yeah, Chelsea's gonna have to turn it around, and the games that
what are the
remain if they want to
implications
make
for you
champions.
Though? If you guys don't make Champions League, what are the implications going into next season?
Oh, there's going to be major implications.
Do you think you guys can win the title again, like you did last year when you didn't have Champions League?
No, this season's arguably probably one of the most crucial seasons for making Champions League, mainly because Hazard and Courtois are both coming up on contracts that are ending, and that there's big speculation of them being transferred and wanting transfers. So making Champions League would be a huge hit to them, and would be an easy reason or escape for them to say, well, look, we're not in Champions League, so we want to go somewhere that has it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that was the City-Chelsea game. City, props to them. Chelsea need to do better, need to make Champions League. Crucial run-ins for both teams. Not both teams, just Chelsea.
Well, moving on from that, it goes into the next whole set of, like, you have the transfer rumors with Hazard, and we're not going to touch Courtois, but he's speculated he might end up leaving this summer.
Basically the big guns from every English team.
Yeah, well, Hazard is a big one, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does leave.
Kane.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid's going to go and undergo a big reform this coming summer.
Speaking about that, he didn't look too happy in this game, Hazard, especially when he came off. Like, him and Conte didn't even greet. They just.
But which players can be happy to come off, right?
Yeah, but I think there's some issues there between those two, especially since Conte recently has been saying he's wanted more, or he wants maybe a better mentality out of Hazard. I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last season with Chelsea, unfortunately. But I think
it's also because of the style of play. Just he barely got a touch of the ball there, and at the end of the game, like Conte said, I told my players that they wouldn't get much of the ball.
Yeah, he was going for the defensive style, and he wanted to go defensive style and then counterattack to pull the win.
I wonder what these Chelsea players think. watching this City team, they must be wondering, like, this could have been us if we decided to.
The problem,
maybe if we played in a more attacking system.
well, the problem is they can't go attacking system right now because they don't have the forward strikers that are pulling it. Murata hasn't been pulling his weight. He hasn't been able to do what the team needs him to do, and Giroud is. I mean, he's a good second option, but he's not a good primary. So you have no strikers, which means you have to modify the whole lineup at the front just in order to incorporate it. And that, unfortunately, then puts Hazard not in the optimal position because now you're having him in the middle. So, but like not middle, like center attacking mid.
Like,
but anyways,
I'm just talking about like how he must be thinking about it. So like maybe that's a factor in him wanting to move.
I don't know if you guys would benefit with, and not an out and out striker, someone like Firmino who's more unorthodox.
I think they needed someone honestly similar to Costa, or someone that at least is a proven top quality striker. Murata I think was a little new. That's why I was hoping for Lukaku as preference wise, but anyways, we need to stay on topic just for time wise, but getting back to Hazard, I think he's going to re-sign a contract out of sheer respect for Chelsea. I think what's going to happen though is you're going to get a Real Madrid release clause, so that if Real Madrid comes knocking, they have to sell him to him, but for an agreed upon price, but they will have to sell him, something along those lines.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
We should we should move on to Emre Can, I guess, and speculation of a free transfer for him.
Yeah, I don't see him re-signing unless
he's leaving.
Something crazy happens, like we win the Champions League or something like that.
Even then,
I don't see him staying.
I think he's already pretty much had like an agreement with Juventus that he's coming.
Juventus were given a 1-week ultimatum to sign him, but Juventus have the upper hand in this. Even Gerrard on BT Sport let it slip out that he's basically gone.
Can he leave on Bosman like free transfer?
Pardon?
He can leave on Bosman like a free transfer, right, to Juventus. So it doesn't necessarily.
Right. He's free to sign with any non-English club starting from January.
So yeah, he's been.
So free Juventus, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone.
You guys have Keita coming in, so you should.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he's already signed and Klopp just wants to keep it under wraps so that it doesn't derail our Champions League season.
Right. He's a key player for you guys.
Key is a little too much.
He plays in pretty much every big game, doesn't he?
Yes and no. Is he replaceable? Yes. Would we like to keep him? Yes. Would we be devastated if he leaves? No.
Fair enough. That's fair.
That's that. It's a free, so it's not like we're getting money anyway.
True.
And we bought him in for 12 million from Leverkusen 4 years ago, which means that's worth his money.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much that. He's pretty much confirmed.
He wants a different challenge. He wants a different team. It's okay. It happens.
So, yeah, he's pretty much confirmed. He's moving. Moving on, we can start talking about our awards of the week, which we're going to be introducing. And specifically, Tristan has one that he's going to be presenting each week. Tristan, you can tell us about it yourself.
Yeah, so if you listened a couple podcasts ago, I did my one of the month, but I'm changing this to a weekly thing. And so to start off, it's going to be my golden dude of the week. So my golden dude of this week is going to be Bernardo Silva, mainly for two reasons. One, the Arsenal City game, non-cup game, with a goal there, played absolutely great. I think he was essential to them doing so well. And then the second reason is going to be in that Chelsea game. He was just absolutely key, played amazing, was part of the reason why they had such like an attacking dominance up at the front. And as a result of that, he's going to be my golden dude of the week.
So Bernardo Silva, your golden dude of the week, guys, brought to you by Tristan Jag, the Chelsea fan.
Sponsored by
painfully for him.
yeah, unfortunately.
And the second award that we're going to be presenting each week is the Disgrace of the Week, brought to you by Gary Neville. This week, I think we have a clear winner. It can be a player or a team, by the way. So,
normally
we have a clear winner for this award.
Normally, it's going to be always a player, but this week we're going to give it to a team. Ansh, you can fill them in on this.
I think you guys had a minute's silence for this at the beginning of the podcast, so I think you guys know who we're giving it to. It's going to be Arsenal Football Club.
Absolute disgrace they are.
Love Arsenal, we do. Oh, Arsenal, we love you. No, we don't.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah. So
but just the sheer defeat to Brighton alone, and then if you throw in like the City one, not so bad, but I mean, you just go with the cup game with
Okay,
the
City
actual
one.
game.
Both the
and
City
Brighton.
defeats are, in a sense, excusable. Brighton and not excusable whatsoever.
And that
I
is
think the Brighton
why.
one was caused because of the low confidence from the City games, but yeah, it's just a terrible week for them.
Brighton should have never
And
happened.
it might get even worse. It might get even worse.
It might.
The San Siro awaits.
Yep.
And I guess we should move on to our last topic before we finish off, which is going to be the speculation of an All-Star game. What do you guys think on that?
That would
Feasible.
be sick. That would be amazing. It's
Yeah.
feasible. I'm sure it's feasible.
I think it's a very American tradition. I don't think it's going to be a thing in the Premier League.
But think about the money that'll generate. And the
Oh,
Premier
yeah.
League is all about money.
I would love to
Yeah,
see
but-
something like that, especially if you get like I don't know, like a north
And
south
it's never
or
been
east
done
west
in
kind of thing.
football before.
I think it would be a
I don't-
beautiful
I don't
thing.
know.
I think it'd be cool.
No, just imagine like Ronaldo and Messi playing on the same like team. Like, of course, we're talking about Prem.
Yeah,
but if it branches out to La Liga,
Yeah, La Liga would be interesting because then you'd see Ronaldo and Messi. But
no,
I
but
think
the Prem would be interesting. See, I don't like the north and south sides. I think
Right.
if they do an All-Star game, it should be more like what they did with the NBA Finals this year with like Team Curry and Team LeBron.
right.
You know what? I would
Where-
take
where,
it a
like,
step
two-
further and go by leagues. So PL versus La Liga versus
Oh,
like
okay.
Series A,
Ooh.
like that would be awesome.
Oh, but would that be more of a preseason tournament or would that be during the season?
And you know what? Either, I guess. I think that would be pretty cool.
Because I know like the MLS All-Star team like faces one like Premier League side every like year.
Yeah, but that's not the same. Imagine a
In
Ronaldo
preseason
Messi
for the
combo
Prem.
versus like the PL or something like that. You
Right.
get like a Harry Kane, like Eden Hazard, like a whole bunch of other players on that. Oh, that'd be something
It would be
to see.
interesting. Like it'd be a good like spectacle for the sport itself. And I guess you'd have to do it in like a non-World Cup, non-Euro year.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, you don't want to risk
you make it
injury
like
from
a-
that. But
Right,
those
'cause if
games,
you-
those games are more ceremonial and more for fun anyway. So there's generally not too many injuries on
right,
them.
it's not as high intensity.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? It was Romelu Lukaku who proposed the idea on Twitter, and I don't even think he'd get into the All-Star team.
No, no. he wouldn't. I mean, if it was FIFA running it, he would, because United's like stats on FIFA are ridiculously inflated.
True. Yeah.
Like Pogba has a higher rating than Salah, which blows my mind.
Yeah, and Lukaku is the same rating as
And
Harry
Lukaku's
Kane.
the same. Like United is like FIFA is like wanking off United
Man,
every
it's
chance they
hilarious.
get.
if we're basing things off FIFA, I'd have Ronaldo and Messi on Chelsea. So we can't base stuff off of that. But
Fair enough.
yeah, but I think
think-
it'd be interesting, even if they just had just an in-league All-Star game. So you had something
Yeah,
along the
yeah.
lines of North, South, East,
Something
West.
different, something cool. Like the thing is, if they replace the winter break, like if the Premier League brings in a winter break per se, then you could have, instead of like a Boxing Day game where all the teams play, you could just have the All-Star game on Boxing Day at Wembley, which would fuel the hunger for the Boxing Day tradition to stay in place, and still provide players with the winter break.
Yeah, it'd be a nice break for them. Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be actually
Like it'd be a nice
pretty
break
good.
for the rest of the league, and the star players could have like a chill kickabout at Wembley to keep the tradition alive.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Because the winter break thing has also been like in talks, and I don't know, football is changing, so why not change it a bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that was this week. Good performances all around except for Arsenal.
And Chelsea.
Chelsea unlucky a little bit, not really, because City are too good. Liverpool back up to second, but United haven't played yet. Who play tomorrow?
Yeah. So
Against
look out for a
Palace at home?
podcast. Yeah.
At
Look
home?
out for a podcast after the Champions League fixtures where we'll go over the United game and we'll also go over the Champions League fixtures. So
With
we'll talk
Juventus,
about
Tottenham, the big game.
Juventus and Tottenham. So
we'll probably cover
Really
the
really
Real
excited for
Madrid
that game.
PSG game too.
Oh, true. That's this week
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll probably release that on Friday. It looks around that time probably.
Thursday, right after
Thursday.
the 2 games.
Right after the Arsenal.
Right
Let's
after.
see if we hold another minute of silence for Arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Basically, that's where it's at.
So let us know if you guys agree with our points there about Arsenal and everything else we talked about in the comments, and let us know what you think Arsenal needs to do to pretty much improve their season. And again, if you like hearing us and listening to our analysis and our random talks, then hit that subscribe button and you'll get to hear us again next week. This was Ansh.
Cheers, guys.
And with
I'm
me are
Shrikar.
Shrikar and
Tristan.
Cool. See you next week, boys and girls.
Yep. Peace.